So with the attic cleanups, are they occurring because somebody goes in there and sees the mold in the attic, or are we getting raised mold levels in the living area and then we identify that it's the mold coming from the attic?
It's usually people who go up to the attic and find something, either selling a house, and the buyer's inspector finds mold. I had a recent one of those in Port Jefferson about a month ago. They're selling a house. Buyer's inspector sees a black mold staining. Buyer wants the house. So seller has to
clean it up,
take care of that problem, so they can get rid of it.
Well, that's it's an interesting point, because we have mold in an unfinished area. It's vented to the exterior. If it's not making its way into the living space, lowered concern. But it's the air in the attic. If the air in the attic isn't getting pushed into the living space, we don't have a problem. But if then they move in and they change the conditions of that attic, that somehow the attic pressure changes and is forced into the living area, now we're going to have a problem.
Yep, because sometimes you see it's not black mold staining. You'll go up there, it'll be active. It'll look like a can of soda on a hot summer day. The whole interior side of the sheathing is just condensating because that heat's rising up there from down below, and there's no ventilation. And now you have active mold, so it's not even baked in yet, and it's growing, and it's wet. And if you don't take care of that thing quick, it's just going to, by the time winter's over, forget it. It's going to be a science experiment up there.
And going back to getting the attic air into the living space, now more than ever, we have central air in houses, but there's still a lot of houses that don't have AC in it. So you could have had some microbial growth, right? With inspectors left to use anything but mold. You could have like mold growing
Suspected microbial growth.
I call it probably mold, possibly mold. You could have mold growing on the roof rafters, on the sheathing, and now we add the air conditioner in there. You're supposed to seal the ducts properly, but a lot of contractors don't seal the ducts properly. The return side of your air handler and of the return ducts, they're sucking in air. There's negative pressure. So now you have mold spores in the attic. You have a negative pressure in the return. It's sucking air in. Now it turns into a problem. So that preventative, let's clean the mold when we buy the house, they don't realize that they just saved their ass when they go to throw in that air handler in the attic. Now they're not sucking mold in and blowing it throughout their house. So there's, even though it might not be the pressing issue today, we can go and change the conditions of the house, and now they're blasting mold all over their house.
And that HVAC system is the lungs of the home. I mean, there's almost always mold trapped in it because it's got dust. It's picking up everything. And if you don't maintain that system, change your filters, clean your coils, clean your ductwork if it's cleanable. I mean, it just can become a nightmare.
So your central air system, you have an air handler, which is a big box with a fan in it, to oversimplify it. And then you have ducts that blow the air all over the house. They can be in a crawl space, they can be in an attic. And like you said, they're the lungs of the house. The air is moving through it. I do see a lot of nasty moldy ones, especially in crawl spaces. Like I'll see, because I know what to look for I do duct pressure testing on the energy ratings, so when I go and do a home inspection, I see a leaky air handler, I'm like, that thing's sucking in air. I've opened up air handlers before, and you could see the blower motor's covered in mold, the coil's covered in mold. At that point, can you clean it?
The coil and the cage can be cleaned, but flex duct, I mean, sometimes the units just are so far gone. You're probably better off replacing it than trying to clean it.
That's kind of, when I see it, I kind of tell them, like, once it's in there, and most people just have flex duct running all over everything. And real solid HVAC techs will tell you you really can't clean the flex ducts. It damages it. And even cleaning the regular tin, they could damage it, which can lead to more indoor air quality issues. So, all right, so if we have a moldy air handler, there's most likely we're just going to throw that out.
I mean, if it's a little, I mean, if you're looking at this thing and it's grotesque, and the problem too, you're in a soil, they put them in soil crawl spaces.
Oh my God.
They become disgusting. So,
I see some really, like, it'll be a beautiful house on the water, I'll go in the crawl, and there is dark mold staining all over the air handler, because it's a humid crawl space. You have a cold air handler because it's cooling. It's a temperature difference allows the condensation to form. The mold forms. Now it just becomes a disaster.
Yeah, it would be great if there was a better place to put those things. The attic ain't the greatest. You got the heat baking this thing. You're trying to get air.
There's no good way. There's no good place. We have a unique climate zone. We're really hot and humid in the summer. We're really dry and cold in the winter. So we do run into so many problems with where we put our heating and cooling equipment. But